You have shaped culture for so many years.
Sure.
You have shaped the way a consumer consumes art. So kati omuntu wajane art omulala atali gomwasetinga. Consumer tamukunda. No wanga mulungi atya baja tuzala wabagambe nti waka balinga America balinga bachi. But now Bebe is saying, let me go to West Africa and do a whole body of work with the best producers that are working with the Wizkids and them, and show you guys that I have nothing to prove, but what I can do for you now is give you good music, and good music is good music. And Bob Marley said that there's nothing that slaps like good music, you know what I'm saying? And you feel it, you'll feel good music. This is a good song. To jam with politics, to jam with the fact that Bebe did not mention one Uganda word in the song, he did not mention any one Swahili word in the song, it's just a good tune. You know what I mean? So I think it's finally now where people like you have to do it like this, more jams like this, where you can now allow the consumer to actually think of a different approach. Yes. And be like, hey, it's actually okay to put out good music and compete with the best, because Chemani is there is no shortage of good artists in this country.
No.
Uganda, they're just they're receptive to what they're bringing to the table. Yeah. And now here's a guy like you who's doing a whole body of work that is properly mixed, properly mastered. I'm pretty sure your visuals are mad, and you know it's going to push the envelope to a different level. So, Bebe, I'm excited about this. I'm excited about what this could potentially be for the culture. And I feel like the next couple of years, this might be a telling story that finally, omusajja waffe yagenda yo maaso n'akyusa ekifaananyi kya music kubanga ene Uganda struggling nga tetumanyi na sound yaffe. Bagenda tugenda ku TV ne tubuuza, what is our sound? Tetugimanyi. So now here's Bebe saying, I'm going out, I'm doing, this is an Afrobeat song. This is a song that Wizkid would jump on easily. It's a song that Burna Boy would jump on easily. And there's no geography to it, it's just a dope tune. So I don't know what inspired you to get to this mind frame, knowing your rich history and where you've come from. I mean, obviously Uganda to have Congolese music and evolved. We've been evolving, but it feels like we're stuck at some point. Maybe in the early 2000s, we got stuck. And maybe you top 3 contributed to that, unknowingly or knowingly. Now here you are saying, I'm going to flip the script. I don't know what inspired that.
Well, the inspiration comes from the pain. I feel the pain of the young people failing to cut through the 3 of us. Now, the cutting through is not specifically because of the 3 of us. It is specifically because of the fans that follow us. They don't allow to believe that probably there is a new Bebe that is somewhere stuck behind the old Bebe, a new chameleon that is probably stuck behind the real chameleon, a new Bebe that is probably stuck there because they love that. Well, I agree with them for one purpose. Bro, today, the issue of music or making a name or a nice song is easy. But those it was so difficult. So the things that we went through to make the industry, as in, okay, we found an industry. I will not, underlook or underestimate the likes of Phile Bongo Utaya, Eddie Wamala. No, I will not underestimate them. But then the times were changing at that time. So it was difficult for me, Jesse, to wake up in the morning and say we found even Congolese music as the #1 in the industry at that time. So we had to beat the Congolese music. The dancehall music was coming in from Nigeria, which we had to fight against. But then remember, we were so young. I mean, we were in the 22s, 23s. So we chose to run to Nairobi to learn, because Nairobi, Kenya was a bit ahead of us musically. In Kenya, it was normal to wear dreadlocks. In Uganda, it was hell at that time. So you imagine a decision made by me, who at that time, of course, I'm a son of my father was a minister at that time.
Honorary man, yes.
In school. Yes. I'm expected to be talking about, that's why I kept reminding you about PCM. So I had PCM on my table, but I had dreadlocks in my mind.
A real rebel.
Yes. So the journey that the audience saw us go through, and the fights, and the way we brought the showbiz and everything, the companies believing in us, the parents finally accepting that, these guys have created a line of employment. The government accepting, all those things have come in the period where the 3 of us were struggling. And this is not just about the 3 of us. It is also about the other, genres, like all the Eagles production artists, or basically all the other artists joined us, the Julianas, the Irenes, the who. So, because we were at the front, it created an inferiority complex in the fans, that unless if we went and headed towards a certain direction musically, the artist to follow, then that's when the audience will believe. So for me, at this moment, actually a few years ago, about 5 years ago, our local artists started that conversation. They were complaining. They're saying those artists should rest. They should get out of the music industry. You remember that time?
Yes, all the way
up to last year. So. Of course, we can't leave the industry, because that's our work, that's our job, that's all we know what to do. If you can transpose into politics like one of us did, But at the end of the day, after politics, I can guarantee you he'll come back on stage because that's what we are good at. So that's how I thought about and said, you know what, how best can I do it for my young brothers and sisters and for my children? How can I create an opening and believability, okay, so that we do what? They can get in.
Which I believe is, I feel like, Bebe, you should have done this a bit earlier. I can't lie.
No, but it's not late at all. It's
not late, don't get me wrong. It's not late, don't get me wrong. My thing is, you guys have been the anchors of this industry in Uganda for a long time. Maba setting up bar, obviously other guys came and joined. Other artists.
East Africa, why?
East Africa, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And so, obviously, Nairobi, I don't know, there's a thing about Nairobi that has defined who you guys are and and it continues to define people to this day. That's why you find Baraka is always in Nairobi, you know? And so there's something that is maybe, I don't know if it's spiritual or whatever, what happens in Kenya, that sort of transforms the artists from Uganda, which is something that you guys unlocked back then. It
is just the level of expectations and the types of music that are accepted in both countries or the 5 or 6 countries in East Africa are different. In Kenya, this song can be accepted quicker and easily by the audience. In Uganda, we are going to have to teach our audience that, you know what, guys, relax ngeko kuchidandali soke tugende nechitunda worldwide.
Right.
Same, they have their locked up kind of sound. You can see that Diamond fights so much to rotate around and, you know, try to bring it in a bit, and then it's okay. You need to bring the audience sometimes a bit slower depending on where we are. But the good thing right now in East Africa, and most especially Uganda, is the audience is young. So they can take in what they love, and this is what they love. They need to boast around with, you know, latest stuff. They boast around with new glasses, latest fashion. They boast around with latest shoes. They boast around with latest cars. You know, they go to the best hotels. They want to go out to the best, you know, the latest artists that are trending worldwide. So they want to listen to the latest and best sounds in the world. So they want to also their artists locally do compete on that same platform. So that's one of the main reasons why. Actually, I was being disturbed by the entry of Joshua Baran. I love this. He's my family, blood relative. He's my nephew. He's doing something that I believe so many young students who have the art of music can do in schools.
Right.
But the problem is they don't have any confidence to support their decisions towards their families or towards life.
Right.
Because they're not seeing anyone who will support them. They're seeing Ugandans support vulgar music. They're not seeing Ugandans support the music that Barack is doing.
Doing great.
So I'm doing so many concerts in Uganda and I'm not seeing Joshua Barack being advertised.
Right.
Okay? So remember, a tree needs its roots.
Right.
And if you can imagine, every artist or every big person worldwide will always call and check in a country and check on the best artists in the country. So if you do not support those guys here locally and they just be going beyond our borders but not here, they will not achieve unless if they are understood and supported fully from home. So now, for me, that support is mainly to open the doors and to keep on, putting the music that these young people are going to do. Let me open that door and say, you know what, Bebe, it's a new dawn, it's a new era, it's a new Bebe, you go. Now, on top of me, once I make the clearance, then these other young guys can come on top of me and then proceed. And then we can be competing on a man's table.
I find that very powerful because now, I remember I watched the interview this week where you said, I have gotten to a point where I have nothing to prove. And really and truly, Bebe, you have nothing to prove. You've done it all.
Let me say this again, bro. Surely I have nothing to prove. Not politically,
I love that.
Not economically, not musically, but rather the love.
That's massive. That's big.
I just want to see 10, 50 Joshua Barakas.
That's big. That's what I'm telling you. And
we don't have a female Joshua.
And I think that but they don't know how to.
But you know what? JR, let me tell you this. You know, also the decision to do this music is difficult because you have to make it with your parents. Today morning, parents, to one of a friend of mine was writing to me, needs help with her daughter, just guidance.
Right.
Because she's scared to make the decision on behalf of, to accept to allow the daughter to proceed the way she sees things, the way she sees others, the way she sees the audience. So this is exactly what we're talking about in general. This will give confidence to the parents to support their own kids, support their daughters and sons in this era. Guess what? My own daughter, she's making 18 soon.
Right.
And I can guarantee you the reason why I openly did this album, and I'll do a second one and last one, is because I want to give my daughter an opening. I'm surely accepting, and I've accepted that Beata will do music.
Ah, nice.
She will take on my legacy. Of course, Alan, nice. But both of them will do. But Beata will join music soon after her next year of education. But we will start soon, and I'm putting up this whole team in East Africa and Africa, so that if this album works,
yes, it will work. From what we've heard, it will work.
Trust me, if it works, then we just place artists in this whole management thing and put finances behind it. Of course, it doesn't come cheaply, but there are parents who can afford $1 million, $500,000 to create an artist who can make millions of dollars in the future. Right.
Maybe I find that very powerful because I like your approach. You're a man who's also, I'd like to believe, inclined to the political landscape in a way.
Yes.
And we notice from what I've learned that the politics is predicated a lot on the grassroots.
Yes.
Which is where most of us fail. Is it what they say, the roots? And one saying like grassroots in the roots themselves. And I feel like that's a formula that I feel like you maybe I'm hoping you're adopting. Number one, by fundamentally helping rewire how we should consume sound, because you're leveraging your influence to help us understand how these, like I'm saying, I'm Bebe, I've done it all, but guy, katika perspective on Dala.
Yes.
Let me just introduce you guys to something different, but it's nice.
It's true. It's very true, and that's why I stuck to working with government. I had to stick with them so that I can teach and put these things in them. That hey, this is a full economy, first of all.
Absolutely.
Light economy. That's number one. Number two, there's no government in the world that can create even 40% of the jobs for its people, for its citizens. So, government has its opportunity to do two things. Use sports and entertainment to create jobs for these young people as early as from nursery school.
Absolutely.
For example, I'm pushing for the Ministry of Education to look into the time for education during the day. I mean, kids need to stop waking up at 5. They need to start waking up at 6 and then get to school by 8 and start lessons at 9 and then end lessons at 3. So start lessons at 9 and you end lessons at 3. After 3 o'clock, let all young people go for extracurricular activities. Now, within these extracurricular activities, that's when you have footballers, netballers, basketballers, and musicians and dancers practicing from the age of 3. Because a child can be identified, the talents can be identified by them. Look at my talent. It was identified when I was in primary, in nursery. I started singing at National Theatre when I was in primary 1. I used to come there. So today, I employ over 2,000 people who, basically, let me say over 1 million people benefit from my music. So you imagine if there's 1 million Bebe Cools, so it would be 1 million times 1 million people who have something to do, people who can benefit. So it has to begin from the education system to give time for development of talent, and talent becomes job. Now, connect that to reaching down on the ground, then definitely that would mean that people would not be biased because of politics. Because first of all, they are busy developing their talents, because they are very sure their talents will pay them and earn them a living. That's number one. One of the main reasons why we have that issue going around up and down is just because, people lack things to do. Of course, the country's economy has been down. The economy can grow very well and stable if everyone, nearly like 50 or 60% of the people have something to do. Okay?
That's right.
So you imagine if schools began competitively in all those aspects of sports and entertainment from the age of primary 1. That means there's way too much activity, there's way too much practice, there's way too much singing, and then there's way too much content to consume. You get it? So, for me, my touch down there, locally as an individual, I will ask and I will humbly request that all the Ugandan artists start focusing on music that is, consumable by the rest of the world. Don't worry about your language. You can use your language, but let's begin with the instrumentation. Secondly, please work with professional people. I know everyone can begin producing and everything, but if you know for sure, you know Bushington is there, you know for sure there's a certain producer called so-and-so, few kids in Nigeria, please reach out, make negotiations. You can get these people are normal people, they are fellow Africans, they are willing to work with us. So it is going to be so crucial also for the DJs, radio stations,
all the
stakeholders, hosts of night, MCs, to push the people who are doing the new direction of music. kati tubikubire kerere bajja biwulira ate to tell you what JR they do listen Shira ina na
maybe you tell them naye action points wali ku sauti bayina sauti naye wali ku touch tebakola kintu kyonna babera mubukokola tebagala sound nungi Baraka pop sound bagambo Baraka wagenda kugwa omusajja Baraka yakatandika ne wali mubukokola from the entrance
naye kankubulire ko JR tewali changu munsi there's nothing easy in the world otuenza kubera mu nsi nga tebakubye bukokola olaba ne bo basimba ngoli mu church bakuba bukokola so echokuba bukokola take it as natural and it has to happen how you react is what is important
absolutely
nze cyane badije benyini JR na mtu badije nabo bakavayo kubera nti nabo berwanyeko bafune pe enonzi mu before amabala gabenga gaba respecting baba artists most especially about they respect DJs now the DJs are nearly on the same level as artists
and they are more united better with DJs
that's the thing. They're even more united
that's true
so that's true. Give them a good reason to play good music they will play without asking for money because first of all they get paid in their nights so now akakodyo kaliwano abayimbi mwino okugenda ne mubererawo ba DJs mu nights zaabwe okay you can't do it all the time but you bring back that relationship mukomye relationship eyo wakati wa DJ n'abayimbi yambe DJ nagamba nkolera kano DJ enzo kuba ne gig emu mwaka nakubira artist n'agana chokanga 360 days a year okitegere music on anakirira atya ku muntu wa bulijjo asembayo wansi ajja kugira nga twina relationships ezaba stakeholders bonanga eri non-stop.
One is feeling that they're in touch with Bebe, which is something very powerful that the digital economy has created for us, right? So, Bebe, I feel like your album, I'm yet to listen to the whole body of work. I feel like there's a lot of significance that it carries. There's a lot of weight, more than just the music, more than just the sonics, the vibrations. It's a story of change. It's a story of breaking the chains, right? The irony is you have a big chain over there, man. Don't break the chain there. You know what I mean? But yeah, like the irony is spiritual.
Let me tell you something, Jia. When I did Love You Every Day, those are so many years ago, everyone appreciated. What surprised me is how much it has been appreciated all over Uganda.
Right.
So that was a message that was sent by the same audience we may blame. They were saying, if you do a nice English song, well produced, mastered, class video, we will take what you give us. So, but we also have to think about the financial, implications here.
Right.
That's a song that probably costed me over $60,000. One song.
Quite a bit.
Because I had to fly, after doing the audio, which was within 5,000, that's okay. But I had to fly Clarence Peters to Kenya and to a salty lake somewhere that was dry. To be able, I had to carry a car on a car carrier for over 350 kilometers. And that car was taken out of a shop. That specific car wasn't, and so basically the input was a lot. So I wasn't going to, at that time, it's over 10 years ago, I wasn't going to invest, $50,000 in each song. So this is also an issue of time, 1 by 1 year, or time slowly. Because, our artists are young, they're financially constrained. We now not focus only on artists, but we also have to encourage government, because most of these artists that we want to, compete with have two advantages.
Right.
In the US, in the UK, they have advantages of already muscled up record companies.
Right.
Muscled up record companies that a record company, will not worry spending $500,000 or $1 million on an artist. It's you get it? Now, you're competing with an artist who has been funded cash of $100,000 or $200,000 to come up with an album. Okay? And then you're Ugandan and you have $2 million in your pocket. $2 million Uganda.
You can't compete.
It's about $500,
dollars.
This is a scenario that I understand well and good. So, but how do we go about it? This is how we go about it. We have to teach our people that the next level of supporting music is by streaming.
That's true.
I have to download these streaming platforms on their phone.
That's true.
I know downloading a streaming platform. I tell you cheap. You can listen or your music on streaming and omuliriza. Omwezi mitwale ebiri byokka. 20 to 30,000 mitwale ebiri kwesa. Nobeera ng'owuliriza music w'abayimbi bo ngo kati buli lw'owuliriza omuyimbi wo afuna sente.
That's it.
Zasasulwa ezo sente company bwezimuwa then naddayo n'akola music yo n'ow'amaanyi n'alinnya ku class ate ezo tezibbibwa. Kati problem tetulina jjala yeeyo nti basupporters baffe babadde bakyatusupportingira mu disco
Kituufu.
Bakyatusapotingira kukuwuliriza akayimba.
Kituufu.
Ate n'okudownloadinga n'akabeera nako ku
simu. Wana akatawulira ku YouTube.
Olina kusigala ng'okawuliriza ku platform kwennyini. Okitegeera. Kati eno album ngitaddemu gyara right now nsuka emitwalo. Jukira tennafuluma. Nsuka emitwalo 2 right now. Agadola. Sawa eno ndi Johannesburg, Sandton City. Trip eno yokka eweze emitwalo 4.5 ate nga ya wiki jukira n'akakola trips meka oba okitegeera naye kaakati abanauganda abantu ba East Africa okusupportinga projects nga zino kwe kuwuliriza ennyimba ezo. You have to support the artist by listening to streaming those songs so that the artists get paid what is worth the work you want to listen to. You cannot get a good work. You cannot listen to good quality songs, watch good quality videos if the artists cannot be paid by the company.
That's true. That's it.
So we need to support the companies by give me the platforms. We need to support the companies by downloading the apps, Spotify,
iTunes, Bookbox, Apple Music, Tidal,
YouTube.
Right.
There's one more. There's another one that. So if Ugandans, Kenyans, Tanzanians, Burundians, Rwandese, Congolese, let's say all Africa, if we learn the culture, we must learn the culture of downloading those apps, subscribing to those apps. The subscription a year can be about $100, but
even less.
If you cut it per month, it could be just $10. So you can subscribe per month. Emitwalo 10 gyokka buli omwaka oba 12 omwaka. Naye omwezi emitwalo 2 oba gumu kitundu oba 3 depending. So bw'obeera nga ostreaminga music wa Joshua Barak oba ostreaminga music wa Bebe Cool oba ostreaminga music w'omwana yenna omupya ne waba omwana we yafunamu directly. Just then never DJ bafuna amaanyi to amplify the music. So we will have to go that way. JR, muyina okulwana nnyo okuyigiriza.
That's what I'm telling you, about significance of this body of work that you put together. And in the media run that you're going to put around, obviously, like I think 2 years ago, nagenda ku radio, nga twogera ku bino into streaming platforms. But you find that most people don't know what even the streaming platforms mean and what they're there for. When we explain,
we know bivunula Uganda.
So kati ku campaigning abantu bavunula ensonga lwaki beetaaga okufuna app zino ne significance yazo ziyamba omuyimbo okukulaakulana ziyamba omuyimbi zimuwa leverage when the streaming numbers go up and they get playlisted and so on. So I feel like this is what the digital economy is doing for us now. It's liberating us, but yet there's a bit of a gap as it relates to
maybe ninaka idea. Maybe also twali kutte amaduuka gonna agatunda amasimu. Because jukira omuntu bw'agula essimu bagisumululaawo ne bagimutandikira.
Right.
Maybe twali kozeyo posters ezina platforms zino ne tuziteeka ne tukola deal n'abantu abatunda amasimu. Omuntu yenna bw'agula essimu ogimuteerako n'ogimulaga making sure nti omudownloadingira kubanga omuntu bw'agula essimu y'emitwalo 3 tayinza kugaana kumuteerako mitwalo 2 subscription ey'omwezi ogusooka. Jukira omuntu bw'awuliriza omwezi ogusooka ajja kunyumirwa kuba alaba kano n'alaba kali. So ndooza tulina awo wasooka mu batunda amasimu ne tuba relationship nabo ne tubapangira obupapula ebipande ebirabika obulungi netuteeka mu maduuka ne tubasasulayo ne wezibanga nabo bafuna ku ssente z'abayimbi nga balinayo omutemwa ne bweba 1%.
Ate nga balina data nga bakuwa data.
Ate ne tuba oba okitegeera. I think ako ngenda kadiscussinga ne kubanga we are doing naweebwa omulimu ogw'okulaba engeri gye Africa n'ensi endala gye bakolamu ebintu ebimu. Representing us soon ewa Minister wa Justice.
Okay.
Ayina ebyayagala okuinstrumentinga nga ye nga birina basis nga birina gye biri nga bikola. So I think nakagatamu ate akantu ngaako mwenna mufuna aba aguze essimu afuna ate n'abayimbi ne bakola ki.
Bebe, that I hope maybe you can give us closure on is you're deeply planted, not deeply, but you're planted in the guys who call the shots. or the real influencers, the guys who well, I think some days you guys make decisions over a cup of tea, that affect the country, right? And you're in those rooms.
Yes.
How important is your role in helping the guys that call the shots to understand the importance of art? I don't know, but I think it's something that is being aligned in like West Africa and South Africa, the importance of the government being involved in how we tell our stories as Ugandans, selling what's authentic to us as Ugandans through our art forms, whether it's music, whether it's film, whether it's dance, whether it's drama, this, that, and the third. And so I feel like the lack of support there is what limits us in a way. And they don't see the industry and how lucrative it is. They don't understand how it can actually help propel our country economically, how economically viable it is. And so your role in that space, how important do you think it is to helping liberate us as storytellers?
Recently, when I saw General Salewe agoba abayimbi eggulu ebyabaddewo bw'olaba ebibaddewo recently mabegaawo creation ya federation for creating abayimbi into a togetherness bw'olaba the fact that today ndi ku board ya UNCC ne Bafina ne Buju ne Lilian Mbabazi so a few years ago bwe twagenda eggulu twagenda with all those complaints okay okulaba nti tekawo lutindo between the artists, their careers, their money, and the government and the economy. So, Jeno yatugamba ekintu ekyali very crucial nti temulina kye mugenda kukyusa mu system okujjako nga muyingidde munda mu system. So n'atubuulira the points ze twali tulina okusooka okuyingiramu nga UNCC, okukola federation, okugenda mu URSB ne tubeera ku board, of course ne UPRS. Ng'abayimbi abalina ebizibu so that tuli solving then n'okuba nti nno abantu tubeeyigiririze exactly how our industries work.
Right.
Kati nze nga nze bw'ombuuza question eyo omulimu gwange kyova olaba nti from the beginning sorry eno teyali badde it's not a political show era
no it's not a show yes.
But it's important because kijja kuyigiriza n'abalabi n'abantu baffe bali mu offices ezo ezidetermining oba ezisalawo kyali very important for me okusigala nga ndi close n'omukulembeze w'eggwanga because yali tajja kutegeera bandi mabega yali tajja kutegeera Chameleon, yali tajja kutegeera Bobian, yali tajja kutegeera Sahayan, yali tajja kutegeera bani full figure yani, yali tajja kutegeera mulimu gwaffe. Obukyegedde ate omulimu gwaffe si just music yekka, mulimu okwogera kati muzemba bloggers ba tiktokers kati mulina podcast baali tebajja bitegeera. Kati nalina okusigala close na nina dread n'ebirevu bagetting used kubajjukira ebiseera ebyo nga ba diplomats tebagalira ddala kusemberera muntu yenna ayambala dread nga batwita bayaaki nga tebalowooza nti no twali tulina ki amagezi. So that was the first step. Step 2 kwe kubeera nga mu buli kye boogera obeera obayigiriza off record ng'obagamba system bwetambula because it was just a matter of time nti nno kijja kutuuka nga gavumenti tekyasobola kusustaininga kubeera n'abavubuka batalina mirimu. So answer y'okubafunira emirimu yali egenda kuva mu talanta zaabwe ze balina. 1 okuoccupyinga babeera busy. 2 talanta zaabwe zibasasula. Nze nkuwadde example ya Alpha namutandika muto yatandika ekyomupiira nga muto.
How old did he start? How old was he when he started?
He was 3 years old nga yakayingira nursery then nayingira ewa Mujibu okusamba omupiira. So Alpha abadde busy and occupied from age 3 paka kati awezeza agenda kweza 20 nga ali busy tasobola kubeera na budde bwogera ku politics alina budde buli dakika alowooza ku kaliya ye enaamuweetya salary okitegeera kubanga agitaddemu obudde nze ekyo ekintu nga nina kiraga omukulembeze w'eggwanga nga nina okucreating omwana gwalabako n'amaaso ge n'amala n'abelieving nti naye omanyi ndowooza eno formula yentuufu era nasanyuka nnyo ng'omukulembeze w'eggwanga addidde mukyala we n'amuteeka mu ministry ya education. Kati ffe abali close twakimanya nze specifically nakimanya ministry of education erina sports kati ebyo ebibiri bw'obigattako ne entertainment ministry ya gender interlocking otya closeness eyo. So one of those times twalina committee ne first lady ne president nga twogera ku nsonga ey'omupiira ne music but today okusinziira entegera y'abantu baffe bakola mu government bwe yali those days ne today kati nyinza otuula ne Mwami Gobi who is the PSST wa finance prioritizing ebintu bya entertainment ne sports mu budgets. Yadde budget zikyali ntono kubanga bakyabitegeera bongera okutegeera kati gavumenti ekoleta oyina ogiraga weenaafunira nyingi so mu kubeera nabo tubalaga twongera okubalaga abayiwala ejangu mpola toyonoonera muhangi kubanga oyina okuyiga muhangi bwakola kuba twetaaga bamuhangi nga 5 oba okitegeera so my job as Bebe tebadde just kubeera mu industry because njasigalamu nnyo as we said earlier ku press conference yange nti I have nothing to prove but then wenyimiridde today Katonda nina okuzza omuzigo eri eggwanga nina okubanga nsika abantu bange abandi wansi ababonaabona naye nga balina kyennina ate nensikanibwa n'abandi waggulu omukulembeze w'eggwanga baminisita bamemba ba palamenti bonna basobole okutegeera kiki kye tuli era tusobola bayamba tutya ne bava ku pressure gye balina so nakugambye ku kintu ekyokuba nti no education system yeyina otuwa time emisana ya hours 3 okuva saa 9 paka 11 okusobola okukola extracurriculars ezo z'ocreatingamu talents today the most paying people Cristiano Ronaldo ne Messi bali paid by talent bovayo n'ogenda mu American football bovayo n'ogenda mu American basketball bovayo n'ogenda mu music ba Jay-Z bani today in South Africa waliwo gundi agenda performing today
Chris Brown
yes era tugenda concert yeyo naye ebyo byonna bikwatagana n'omwana okuva nga ayina emyaka emeka 3 kati gwe government waki obonaabona yes I support the president mu bintu byoku creating industrialization of the country that's okay but that is for those who can probably get a few jobs
that's a margin that's just one margin of things they will imagine endala
but what is single bunene eyo margin is single bunene okujeetaasaako one oyina okuba occupying physically
right
because physical occupation yeyo eyamba ne health yaabwe for example abaana ababeera engaged mu sports temamala galwala so kitegeeza amalwaliro tegajja kujjula ki bw'obanga abaana bonna balina extra curriculum mu masomero gonna okuva ku saa 9 paka 11 abaana bajja kutuuyana intestines zaabwe zijja kukola bulungi bajja kulya bulungi kwegamba ekintu kino kiri just wider than just omuntu atudde n'agamba nti abo abayimbi tujja bawaayo kano no ffe tukiraba gye kijja mu maaso era when you look at Europe and America that's exactly what they did they occupied their people from the beginning balina sports activities okuva nga omwana wa myaka egi esatu hours ez'okusoma ntono zenkana niyo aline hours zino ze basobola okukoleramu ebintu bye so akula ng'amanya alina okusamba ennyo omupiira talina choice bw'atayitawo ku katimba addayo buto mu kusoma